Good morning, third grade. It is Monday, May 4th, 2020. And then for those like Star Wars people that are out there, it's like May the 4th be with you day. So if you get that, I mean, I get it, but I'm not like, anyway, so if you get that, happy May the 4th, Star Wars day, whatever. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the beautiful weekend that we had. It was absolutely gorgeous. So hope you got out, got some sun, got some exercise. I saw a couple of you out there, Harkness Park, together and seeing each other. So that was kind of cool, Jackson and Iowa. So that was really awesome. All right, well, we're going to get started because this is like this week with Bible, I mean, it's always great, but these are some of like my favorite lessons to share with you. So we're going to get started so we can get through them and learn all the great stuff that we have to do. So page 257 in your books, we're going to sing the first and second. You know what? Actually, just the second, just for time's sake, so I can have enough time to do our lesson. So we're just going to sing the second verse. You can sing the first one to yourself, but we're just going to do the second verse of What a Friend We Have in Jesus. So let's try that second verse together. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Good. I love that verse. Have we trials? Do we have temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? Everywhere. We should never be discouraged. Just take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful? I mean, think about it. A friend that just loves us no matter what. Who will all our sorrows share? He shares everything with us. From the moment we get up in the morning till the moment we're in bed at night and we're crying silently in our beds. He is our forever faithful friend. Jesus knows our every weakness. So just take it to the Lord in prayer. And I just love that verse because that verse of the song, because it just is so comforting to know that we have the Lord Jesus and there's no better friend than he can be for us. All right. We're going to turn in our Bibles to the book of Matthew. Pretty easy, right? Matthew chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 35. And this is kind of a fun verse because it totally, there's one part and then there's a second part. So if you can remember it like that, it'll be easy to remember. So listen carefully because it simply goes like this. Matthew 12:35, a good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things. Oh, good. Good man, good treasure of the heart, good things. And an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. And it totally makes sense. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart, he's going to bring good things. But an evil man out of the evil treasure, it doesn't say of the heart this time though, an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. And so if you can just remember good, evil, that will help you so much in memorizing this verse. So let's try Matthew 12:35 together. Matthew 12:35, a good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. And remember, not of the heart that time. The first time, good out of the heart. Second time, just evil. Okay? Good. Try it one more time. Matthew 12:35, a good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. Matthew 12:35. Good. How easy was that, right? That's an easy verse. So we'll go through that verse this week a few times so we can get to know it. Today's lesson is a little bit shorter, but it's just an interesting lesson, so I want to have the time to share it with you properly. This lesson today is called Friends Find a Way. You'll recognize it when I start talking about it, I know. But I want you to listen carefully because it's just such a great lesson that we can learn. Jesus had been preaching the word and doing miracles, and now he had returned to Capernaum. People packed into the house where Jesus was. In another house was a paralyzed man whose friends wanted to take him to Jesus to be healed. The friends put their friend on a stretcher and carried him to the house where Jesus was speaking. These friends, first of all, they loved and appreciated their friend so much. They saw that he was paralyzed, he couldn't move, and they just knew this Jesus person that we've been hearing so much about, he heals people. We need to bring our friend to him. So first of all, they wanted to be a help to their friend. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Are we thinking of others in that way? That's one of the things that I have to challenge myself. I have so many friends that think about me and do things for me. Do I do the same for them? Are we thinking of our friends instead of our own needs? Do we think of our friends and what they may be needing and what they may be going through? These 4 friends weren't thinking of themselves. They could have just been like, oh, we just want to go hear Jesus. Sorry, you can't make it, dude, because you can't walk or anything, but we're going to go. We'll tell you all about it. That's what they could have done, but they didn't do that. They gathered up their friend on a stretcher, which, they didn't necessarily have back then. They probably made it, makeshift stretcher, and they're carrying a man's weight. That's not easy to be carrying. Even though there's 4 of them, they're carrying this man's weight with them to go to that house. But so many people had already crowded into the house that the men with the stretcher couldn't get near Christ. So they carried their friend on the stretcher up to the flat roof of the house. Again, they get there, they got their friend, they're carrying him. Okay, no, get that side. Okay, careful. And they're carrying him, trying not to make sure he doesn't fall over or anything. And they get to the house, and there's just this wall of people. And they're like, excuse me, we have a friend that, no, watch, shh, we're listening to Jesus. No, but we have a friend that, I have friends too, but you know what? Right now, I'm listening to Jesus and you're being rude. Shh, guys, keep it down back there. Nobody's listening to them. Nobody's trying to help them. They're like, excuse me, no, doesn't matter. Nobody cared except for these men. And they could have easily, once again, said, well, we tried. We did the best we could, so we're going to turn around and go back home and, sorry, dude. Okay. That wasn't their spirit. That wasn't their attitude. How many times do we go, I tried once and that's it? Sometimes we do that a little too often. Instead of going, you know what? I tried and it didn't work, so, oh well. No. Ask the Lord to help you figure out another way or think it through carefully and guide you. These men did not give up. They didn't turn aside. They got that man and they said, fine, nobody's going to let us through this way. We'll get through another way. And they carried him up to the roof. Now, again, you have to understand that, yes, there were stairs up to the roof, back then. So they probably were able to go up the stairs. But do you understand what stairs are like when you have a man on a stretcher between 4 people and there's no railings and you're trying to hold him and the guys at the, the back are like, don't tip it too far. Well, it's hard to keep it up, the work that it must have taken to get him up each step and make sure that he's not falling one way or the other. He's paralyzed. That means he doesn't have control of his body. He can't stop himself or control himself. So these men are gently and carefully carrying him up to the roof of the house. But what are you going to do on the roof of the house? I mean, come on. I mean, that's not going to help you if you're on the roof. But when they got to the roof, they dug up a section of dried mud and straw that formed the roof. So they started digging up the neighbor, like this guy, they don't know him, but they started just digging because it was just mud and straw and things, the roofs back then. And so they're just digging. And this is where I get like, what was it like to be sitting in that, here's Jesus and he's preaching and teaching and you're sitting there, listening to him like, oh, I got one of the front seats. This is awesome. Wait, what is going? Oh, I think I just got some dirt in my eye. What is going on up there? And then all of a sudden, there's light coming in from the roof. And I could only imagine what the guy of the house is thinking, like, what are they doing? Somebody is digging my roof up. What is wrong with people today? They're digging my roof up. What is going on? When the hole was large enough, because it wasn't just a little hole. And I don't know, did Jesus stop teaching and look up? He knew what was happening, but the other people didn't. Did he, say anything to them? Or did he just keep teaching and act like it wasn't, I don't know. I hope this is on DVD when we get to heaven, because I really would love to see this scene. When the hole was large enough, they let the stretcher down in the house. So I don't know. I imagine Jesus was still teaching, and maybe every once in a while he would look up and, just kind of smile. Maybe that's what he did, because he knew what was happening. And he was thinking, boy, oh boy, do these friends have faith? Because they're not willing to say, oh, well, we tried to get to Jesus, but we couldn't. We know that Jesus can heal, and we will bring him in a stretcher right down in front of Jesus' face if we have to, so Jesus can heal our friend. That's exactly what they did. I just imagine Jesus kind of teaching the people, looking with a little smile on his face, and the people are like, why is he smiling? And what is going on? And why isn't Jesus stopping and saying something to them, yelling, how dare you open up the roof of this house? It's so rude, or whatever. No, he's just teaching. And all of a sudden, here's this stretcher with a man being lowered in front of Jesus' face. Because Jesus is God, he knew what was going on. He knew the great faith that this man and his friends had, and he rewarded their faith. Jesus told the man on the stretcher that his sins were forgiven. Wait a minute. I think, no, because he wants to be healed. I mean, that's great that you're forgiving his sins, but he wants to be able to walk again. I'm not sure. The man's friends had brought him to Jesus to be healed, but Jesus had forgiven his sins. Jesus knew what was more important. What's more important? That he can get up and walk and never know the joy of eternal life someday? Or to have his sins be forgiven? Jesus knew that what was more important, not the sick body, but the sick heart that because of sin needed a savior. There were some scribes, and remember, scribes and Pharisees were those that didn't really like Christ, who had heard and saw what Jesus did. Jesus knew that the scribes were thinking, that only God can forgive sins, and how dare this man do that? In their minds, they were questioning Christ's ability to forgive sins. Jesus surprised them by answering their thoughts with a question. He asked whether it would be easier to tell the paralyzed man that his sins were forgiven, or tell him to get up and start walking. Jesus wanted to show the people that he was God's son and had the power of God to forgive sins. So there were some scribes nearby, and they're watching this whole scene. They're listening to him. They're trying to find that thing, because, they've been trying forever to find a reason to kill him. And they're listening. Yeah, he's teaching some interesting things. He's not really saying the worst things yet. What is this man? He just told this man that his sins are forgiven. So these scribes, they weren't talking out loud. They were just giving each other the look, who does he think he is? He just forgave this man's sins. Only God can do that, and they're not saying it out loud, but they're just kind of giving each other the look. And Jesus turns to them and he says, what would you rather me do? Say that his sins are forgiven, or tell him to get up and walk? Because he needs his heart fixed before anything else. How does he know what we were thinking? Because we didn't say. And he's showing the people that he was God the Son. Then Jesus told the paralyzed man to get up and walk. take his stretcher, and go back to his home. Immediately. It didn't take a while and he had to get his, oh, let me see if I can stand. I haven't been able to. And no, he just immediately, they work. I can't imagine what he must have done. Immediately he stood up, picked up the stretcher, and walked out of the house. The man's friends, of course, were really, really happy. I can only imagine they're like sitting there on the edge of the roof, like, yeah, whoa, like, whoa, don't fall in, friend. They're like, yes, we knew Jesus could heal him. This is so awesome. All the people were amazed and glorified God, saying that they had never seen anything like this before. Jesus did this wonderful miracle, and he showed what faith can do. When we have faith and believe in him, look what he can do. This paralyzed man that had no way of getting to Jesus, his friends had enough faith to say, if we can just get him to Jesus, we know he can be healed. And they did whatever it took. Boys and girls, what's our faith like? What does it take for us to have that faith to really believe that God is who he says he is and can do exactly what he says he'll do? Do we have that kind of faith in him? I hope so. And I hope after hearing this story, this lesson, you will think, you know what? I want the faith of that man and his friends. And I want to be that kind of a friend to somebody else. His friends found a way, and we can find a way to be that friend to somebody else. What can you do? How can you be that kind of a friend and have that kind of faith? Who are you praying for? Who are you concerned about that you could be praying for and showing your faith in Jesus Christ today? All right, page 202. Isn't that a great lesson? I love that lesson. This is from Singing with Understanding. It says writers sometimes use alliteration, which means repeating the same sound. So a lot of times, like a pastor, many times when he gives his points for a sermon, he's like, the property, the power of God, the presence of God, and the peace of God. So it kind of helps you to remember. So in our song today that we sang, that verse 2, there's alliteration. There are 3 words in the first line of the verse that begin with T, the T sound. What are they? What are they? Sorry. So sing that with us. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? Okay, that's alliteration. Then in the third line, the writer uses alliteration in 3 words that begin with F. What are they? Can we find a friend so faithful? Yeah, that's alliteration. So those are the words that would go there. And then it says, do you think that we are better able to understand what hurts someone else if we have had the same thing happen to us? Yes, we can't understand as much unless we have the same thing happening to us. And the Lord allows some things like that to happen so we could better understand somebody else's plight. Jesus is able, number 4, to understand our temptations and to help us turn from them because he was tempted as we are. In Hebrews 4:15 it says, he was tempted like as we are, but without sin. And then number 5, Jesus also understands all our sorrows, our sadness, because he was even called a man of, and if you look at Isaiah 53:3, he was a man of sorrows and acquainted with our grief. And then page 203, Friends Find a Way, shows you an example of what the house may have looked like. Archaeology is the study of the remains of past human life and culture. So you're going to read through each of those and find the order that it goes in. The information about houses, or not order, the information about houses will help you understand the account about the friends who brought a lame man to Jesus. Write the number of the sentence above that causes you to think each of the following. So it was probably easy to reach the rooftop. It was probably easy to remove the roofing materials. Which of these above make sense with that? Okay. You don't have to send it to me. Your parents don't have to upload this to me. I'll go over the answers tomorrow, but I want you to think those through, especially since time is going quickly. So I'm going to end it here and work on those pages, and I'll check on them tomorrow. All right, see you soon.